Yo, what is shaking, everybody? We are here a couple minutes late. We had some QC issues. There's some QC trouble in 2025 in the vinyl community. It doesn't just stop with vinyl. It trickles into the streams on occasion. But now we're good. We're good. Everyone's coming in loud and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We have a fantastic cast with you. It's myself, it's the Groove Seeker, and our special guest, Jason Roxas. Jason Roxas, what is going on?
Sorry, it's my fault. I had technical issues. If I was using a DAC, maybe one that was preferably over $1,000, maybe that would fix my issues.
Chris, you got to send him your DAC now, dude, so we don't have this problem in the future.
My DAC is very inexpensive.
It's sub 1K.
It's about 1.5 UHQRs.
That's value. Think about that. Sell a couple UHQRs and have digital goodness for the rest of your life. Tokyo Record Style, what's up, baby? First commenter, absolutely.
I knew Tokyo was coming, and I knew you guys were coming, so I wore my fish sweatshirt for this special occasion.
Oh,
so what's up, Tokyo?
That's cool, man.
Welcome, Brian. Tokyo Record Style. Yeah, you know, Brian, if you're watching, I would fail any fish quiz, any fish game, you know, so hopefully we're not doing that later.
We will not put you to the fish test today. Hey, I feel like I'm a seasoned vet now, man. I've been put through the paces by Chris. I've watched 3 long YouTube videos, so I'm getting any questions about fish, man. I can field those for you now. So what's up, everybody? Today's going to be fun. It's Tuesday, of course. We bring on a guest today. It's Jason Roxas. We're not going to torture him with any fish questions, but we will drill him a little bit. And you guys should chime in too. If there's anything you want to know, let us know. We'll pass it on to Mr. Roxas, and maybe we'll get you some answers on that. So you're everyone maybe. Well, I shouldn't act as if everyone knows, but for those that don't know, Jason is coming out of Texas. And the Austin Record Show is coming up in a couple months. Are you planning on going, Jay?
Yes. Yep. Just gonna be having fun, looking for some records. You know, hopefully, maybe I'll set up. I don't know. Maybe that could be a possibility. You know,
you guys are in Austin. Definitely check that out. Who knows? You might see Jay in there selling off some of these grails that he has on the wall right there, man.
Right. You know, when some people try to I guess, what do you call that? Wheeling and dealing with me, you know, I'll just shout them down, right? Like I put it in the humdinger. Everything is VG plus, you know.
So anyone approaches Jay, he's just going to say, what does the sticker say? All right, keep walking. Hey, what's up, Vinyl and Kicks? Good to see you. Well, that's cool. So you might even, so you're going to the record show in Austin. You might even sell something there. Here's my question. What do you get the man that has everything? What is your strategy when you go to these shows?
You mean buying or selling?
Yeah, for you as a buyer. Yeah.
I look for deals. That's the only way, you know?
Okay.
Like if you go there with something in mind, I don't do that anymore, you know, like, cause, I guess I'm not bragging, you know, like you kind of seen it after a while, like, you know,
right.
Especially if you've been to Den Bosch. Once you go to that record show in the Netherlands, I feel like there's no going back, you know? So to me, like I'm looking at records, looking at deals, looking for something that catches my eye, you know? If I see, here's a good example. There was a guy at the last Austin record show. He was trying to sell John Coltrane Love Supreme for $700 now.
OG, I take it.
Yes, OG. Like I can't imagine you just go there and you drop $7 on that. Like,
wow.
No, like you could go get some barbecue, treat a couple friends to like a couple rounds of beer, you know, or $700 for Live Supreme, you know.
Well, I mean, what kind of DAC can you get for that, Chris?
Not one that I can afford.
Chris is not going to be able to live it down. He's already taken heat. We've only been, we just got started. Yeah. Last night it was a friendly game of analog versus digital. Tonight it's down with anyone listening to ones and zeros.
I just want to clear the air. I didn't make it the analog versus digital debate. The producer of last night's episode did. So I was
Fair
just
enough.
there sharing my experience. Wasn't even prepared to talk about it, but I rolled with it. I don't mind.
I have to do what I have to do to make content. If you have to be the villain, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't mind being the VC villain. I think there's not enough VC villains out there, and people might be mislabeled as one. So I'll take that on a little bit.
Okay. Shout out Jill's Music Corner. What's up? Vinyl Piper now. What's up?
His question is good.
Is it really just about the money? Do you always need a deal? Asking for a friend.
He should know better. Chris, the Vinyl Piper, and I went to the Dallas record show, and he saw me like on the floor digging through the bargain bins, and he knows that, I'm looking for something, at least a good deal, Of course, it's not really about the money, but that's the whole thing. Like I think we discussed this, last time maybe, like the cheap heats,
Right.
If you're thinking that a $20 record is a cheap heat, like I'm not with that. Like I'm looking for something under 10 at least.
Okay. Are you the guy that brings up an $8 record and says, would you take 7?
No, I think I would only do like deals like that, like haggling, maybe if it's like 20 or up. And then I'm basically looking at a person's threshold. Now, I'm going to be honest here, like a threshold, right? If they're friendly enough, then a couple dollars is okay, But if, like the guy, when I bought that punk band, The Damned, right?
Yes.
Some guy had that record, the first one, right? With all of them on the whipped cream.
Mm-hmm.
And it was definitely VG. I think he was trying to ask for 20 euros, and I asked for 15 because it was VG. And I think that guy wanted to jump out of the table, and strangle me.
How dare you?
Right. But I think he went down to like 17, I think. So it wasn't bad. Like but I mean, it was VG. Come on.
I mean, it's like, that's the deal, right? At those record shows. I mean, isn't it, it's a wheel and deal kind of, isn't that sort of, everyone's kind of used to that being the deal, right?
Correct. I don't know. It's just, to me, like I've always done it. I'm not going to change my ways on it,
Yeah, no, I mean, like you have a seller shocked that you're trying to kind of, strike a bargain, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think, how do I say this? Like, I think in America, now I'm generalizing here, like Americans, they like to wheel and deal and find a good deal. Now, Europeans, that's not necessarily the case all the time. I mean, that guy really wanted to jump out of that table and just strangle me,
But Vinyl and Kicks really needs to know, what are the next Rhino hi-fi releases? I think you asked that yesterday, Vinyl, and we didn't get to it. We have the perfect guest here today to answer that question. And if you want to go box sets, feel free, Jay. What is Rhino going to release next, do you think?
Vinyl Kicks, if you hang out to the end, I'll hint at.
Okay, there we go.
I'll do a deal on that.
There we go. Not about the money, it's the music, says Jill, of course. I'm seeing more vinyl deals here recently online, but the suggested retail price is still high on vinyl. Greetings, J-Dog, says Uncle Sally. What's up, Uncle Sally? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. A perfect prescription says always look for obscurities at record fairs. Yeah, I got a couple grails that they go in the little black book, and I don't really look at them because I just know that I'm going to end up overpaying on something because FOMO is going to jump out at me. But when we go to New York to WFMU, I'll probably bust the black book out and see if I can snag something, maybe one or two. Maybe I'll put Jason to it because you got the experience, man. You know exactly how to get a deal.
Well, it's just, again, like I said, if you're going to see a record for, I don't know, a couple hundred again, I could spend that 100 and take you bros out for a round of beers, some appetizers, or I go drop that big money on that record, It's better if you go to a show. This is my opinion. It's better to go to a show and like have a stack of records that you're interested in listening to, right?
Right.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting a grail, I mean, I've seen it. Like I remember, here's a quick story. WFMU, maybe 2010s. I stood next to this lady and I found out that she wasn't a real lady. She was something else, But But we were both looking at the same record, and it was The Pretty Things, SF Sorrow. At the time, the seller was trying to sell it, I think, for $2 or $2.50. Now, in today's price, like, that's a steal for SF Sorrow, because that thing's selling for over, what, $400, $500? But that lady, she was like, I was like, man, that's kind of expensive. She wasn't hesitant. She opened her purse. He was like, where's the seller? I'm ready to drop on this. I was like, whoa, what the hell, you know? But I mean, again, it's not like I'm going to go to my local store and see Pretty Things SF Sorrow, you know, from 1967 UK pressing. It's just not going to happen, you know?
I just have to interrupt the programming for a moment because Jeff Dyer is in the house. Everybody, you see it says Uncle Sally right there. Do yourselves a favor and click on that name at some point today. Go check out the YouTube channel. You will get to go down one of the most fun rabbit holes you've been down in a long time. Some nice 80s and 90s rock music. Here's two of the records from Jeff himself. So I really appreciate you being here, Jeff. Guys, do yourself a favor and check that out before the night is through.
Hey Ross, I'm just wondering, like, I mean, where in New York you're going to get a couple of beers and appetizers for $100? Because you got to clue me in, man.
I guess we're going to that dive bar right next in Greenpoint, right next to the thing or something.
Or we could take a train up to my local watering holes and maybe get that done, but that's about it.
I mean, it's not like I'm taking out everyone for like fancy meatballs in Brooklyn or Williamsburg. Come on.
I want a fancy meatball in Brooklyn. Shout out AA Vinyl Dreamscape. Thanks you guys for being here. Appreciate it. All right, well, take us back to little JR back in the day. I don't I don't want to get into people's ages or anything, but maybe we can kind of glean from the era that you kind of got started. Or did you get started with CDs? Were you a cassette person? Okay, take us through that journey.
I probably, how do I say this? We'll just go brief. You know, when I was a child, like I had an older brother and he was always getting into trouble. So my mother was really busy with him. In order to calm me down in the crib, she just put a transistor radio on my crib and the music calmed me down. So then music was really part of my life, right? I had my parents' records, right? And I would.
Do you remember what was coming out of that transistor back then?
I think the Everly Brothers and the Beatles. That's
what
I remember the most. So fast forward to like the 80s, you know, when the CDs came out and stuff, and getting into that whole like records and CDs and stuff like that. I didn't know the history, to be honest. And when I started trying to buy music in the 90s, like the CDs at the time were $20 or up. That was super expensive, you know? And I started like, why are the records cheaper? You know, I would see them for, you know, less than $5. So it was like a no-brainer in a way, kind of like you could save all your money, you know, to buy the CD, or you could buy the record that's under $5. And, you know, at the time, people were just giving away the records. They did not want them, you know? People were hyped on that CDs were the best thing since sliced bread. So that's how it started. And what got worse is like I would go to the library and also check out records. I don't know if anyone remembers.
I have a library record. I've never checked one out, but I do own one.
And so at the time, I would get like a couple of the first records I ever got was like the Byrds records, John Coltrane, Bruce Springsteen. And what it confused me the most was that the Byrds had a mono and a stereo, right? And I was like unsure, like you didn't have like the record expert, you know, at the time where you could ask like, hey, what version is the best one, you know? Or
right.
When I got the CD, like those super deluxe Bird CDs, like they also sounded different. So now you got to imagine this in the 90s. Then you had like 3 different sounding pressings. Right? You couldn't just Google it and ask like Google, you know, which one is the best one? Which one is the one that the artist intended? Or
there was no Hoffman forums back then, you're saying?
Not necessarily. You know, there was like this special website. Maybe I'll put it in the chat later that these guys were like record heads, real record heads.
Okay.
And I would email them in the 90s and ask them like the most, you know, I guess dumbest questions, but they were happy that a young person was actually interested in records and discographies and pressings. And I mean, in all honesty, like the Birds got me into it. Like it really,
Okay.
like I couldn't understand, which one was the right pressing, and then you would have to listen and, you know, that was it. No turning back after that.
What were some of the albums or songs that you feel like had a deeply profound impact on you over time? Like, were there certain albums that you remember getting, whether they were new at the time or newly found for you from like older generations, that really just blew you away outside of the Birds?
Probably those power ballads. I've never gotten rid of those 80s power ballads, the high vocals and the dramatic. I'll be honest, Groove Seeker, here we go. Kansas Dust in the Wind. That shit is. No, it's not Dust in the Wind. What's the other hit song? Carry On, Wayward Son. Man.
Yeah.
You ever hear that song while, you're tripped out? Anyway, that one. And of course, I have like a big, maybe fondness for like 80s Chicago, like Peter Cetera. That dude was a god. Like he could sing really high. He could play bass, he could crush, men and women, honestly, in the 80s. He could do no wrong. I mean, he was like a god like Phil Collins,
Were you
Collins
were you in a situation where you were listening to some of that stuff and your friends were like, "What the hell is that, Jay?" Because I went through that a lot as a kid.
Yes, a lot of my friends hated Dion, the doo-wop guy.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about Dion is that he sort of did doo-wop. He was friends with Buddy Holly, and he was getting deeper into what he started listening to, which was country western before R&B, right? So he was going back to that country western blues roots, And none of my friends, like, they just were not into that Dion. They were like thinking this guy was trying to jump on like a 60s, trying to be as cool as Bob Dylan. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
actually, like, Dion was on a different path.
Only Donovan was that cool.
No, he was not cool because he got made fun of in that
Don't Look
Dylan
Back.
Don't
Yeah.
Look Back, right?
What a loser.
Oh, he was just he got mixed up in the wrong crowd. He took a wrong turn and showed
I
up
mean,
in
you
that
remember-
hotel room.
Right, in that hotel room and Don't Look Back, right? Dylan, he's playing like, what is it? It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, right? And
Yeah.
like that's one of his new songs, and it's too good, right? It's just too amazing. And you can see Donovan like, shit, man. Like, I'm just Donovan. Like, I suck. I can't even compete. Like,
Oh,
they
come on.
probably like, hey, do you want to play a song, Donovan? He was like, no, I'm a little sick here. I don't feel like playing guitar right now. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that was awkward. Where did you pick? Did you have someone that knew about music? Did you have to explore this stuff on your own? Was it trial and error? Did someone sort of walk you through it?
Later, like maybe in the later 90s, like I met a friend of mine through a couple like local record dealers in Columbus, Ohio. Like I got to meet Kenny Stone, and Kenny Stone was the first person who started like the used record store in Columbus, Ohio. So once I got to know him and then talking with him about music and asking him like dumb questions, but he was a nice guy. Like he would play me like differences between like an original Little Richard versus a reissue. And then he would never tell me like this is the best one. That wasn't his thing. He'd be asking me, what am I listening to? How am I hearing this? And if I wasn't really good at clarifying it, back then, he would give me some words how to, say it better, right? And explore it. So in a way, like he's like my mentor.
Very cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I had that person. It was my dad. Like ever since I was fortunate. I had someone in my home that was just so knowledgeable growing up in the Bay Area. And he was always at shows, the Fillmore and Winterland and all that stuff. So yeah, it was nice having a resource right there.
I had a similar situation too. One of them's actually in the chat, Dead Bob, who I met through my friend Dean, who similar thing as you, Ross, not from like an audiophile perspective, but just like an encyclopedia of music, and meeting Bob through him. Bob really filled me in on a lot of stuff, kind of rounded you out. You kind of hit the surface of the iceberg and they just take you all the way down into stuff. So it's important to have those mentorships in the hobby, I think. And I think for a certain extent that the three of us amongst others, when we bounce ideas off of each other, we kind of fill that void a bit if that void's not available anymore.
Right. Shout out Dead Bob. Shout out Music in the House. The thing hooked me on the CDs and the transition was that they had extra tracks that sucked you in. I got sucked. Yeah, it was an interesting time when I first got into CDs too. Was I was into stuff like Depeche Mode, who was a perfect candidate for like just throwing all the remixes on a CD. They would come out with their singles, and yeah, all this additional tracks would come out and stuff like that. That was a major plus. I miss with the 80s Chicago Journey, not so much. Vinyl and Kicks. Stop hating on Journey. One Journey hater is enough here. We got the Groove Seeker in the house.
Jason, on your mentor Kenny, the way he played you different records and didn't try to sway your opinion, is it fair to say that has some influence on your streams when you do your shootouts?
Yeah, because of him, it's probably why I have more of like an eclectic music style, listening and playing different things. It's probably because of him. When I would buy a record, he'd ask me, "Oh, have you heard about this other person? They're influenced by this." And then that went to like a lot more rabbit holes quickly. And this is all before, we had, iTunes, right? Like really
Yeah.
before like we had like a big YouTube where all the videos or whatever, obscure artists are, there, right? So he would have the records because he had like a private record store, and then he would dig it out, we would listen to it, and then he would ask, what I thought about it, Like Kenny was the only person I've ever known who's ever seen Sam Cooke live, James Brown, Ray Charles, like he was the guy close to music as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I'll tell you a quick story about Kenny. So Kenny and his sister, they went to see Sam Cooke. And Kenny was mad because his sister was like running late. And so they're like running in the auditorium all the way to the front row. And Sam Cooke notices this. And he kind of stops the concert for them to like be seated. And he actually sang "You Send Me" to Kenny's sister. Now,
Wow.
Those were the days.
that's intense, right?
That's cool.
And Kenny
That's
is
so
the one
wild.
who, and another quick story about Kenny, like he's there was that big Elvis Costello Punch Out, right, in I think the late '70s, where he got in a fight with Stephen Stills' crew and Bonnie Bramlett, basically. And Kenny is the one who instigated that fight at the Holiday Inn in Columbus, Ohio.
Damn.
So,
That's a great resume right there.
right, he's very special,
We all need a Kenny in our life.
Well, outside of like the eclectic music taste and like the journey you've been on, when you do specifically when you do like your A/B shootouts online, which I find very valuable and insightful, I noticed that you obviously give commentary on those, but you really don't give a definitive opinion, although we can probably glean what you think from it. And I guess what I'm asking, and I'm not a professional interviewer, but what I'm asking is that in the spirit of what Kenny did for you? Like, hey, here's this and this, like, what are the differences? What do you hear? Are you trying to take his influence as inspiration there, or are you doing something different than what he did for you?
In a way, it's similar. In a way, like I think we're all adults. I think we can all make up our own minds on what we're hearing. I don't really, maybe that's where I come from too. Like I don't prefer somebody telling you to do this or do that. I mean, I was always a rebellious person, right? If you told me to do this, I was going to do the opposite. If you said don't do drugs, I was going to do all the drugs.
So you're
If you
saying
said
the worst
don't-
way to get into Fish is to have someone tell you should go listen to it?
Correct. So if you were saying like don't get into music, there's no future in it, like of course that was the wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
Well, when you say get into music, so maybe that's a segue. Maybe people don't know you play bass. I don't know if you play other instruments, but famously you play bass. Did that start early? Tell us about that journey too. And have you played in bands, and how has that
Yes.
journey gone?
Started, again, this was where my parents were like, don't play music. There's no future in that. And what did I do?
Let me find an instrument right now.
Right. And like, let me try to learn how to play it, and it was all about just trying new things. I think that's how the 90s were, right? Like they were kind of opening up, doors, and you didn't have to be similar to like what the punk days, like you didn't have to be like a expert or prodigy. You could just pick up instruments and give it a try. So I took drum lessons, piano lessons, guitar lessons, all this. I took music theory in college, you know.
Nice.
So
And then
again,
somehow you ended up in a band.
yeah, I had several bands,
Okay.
They just never panned out, or they were just having fun with friends. I think when I went to college, like I tried to be more serious with it. And it didn't pan out, maybe because like my personality didn't rub, with others or something, I wasn't really mature enough to handle things, to be honest. It took
Well, like I was just gonna say, chemistry is like the hardest thing to come by, right? It's like even if you
Yes.
have people that are great musicians, the chemistry has to be right.
Correct. I mean, I think if you're friends with some person, long term, and then you start a band, there may be complications with that, right? But if you kind of start where you're not friends, then sort of like, how do I say this? There's no judgment. You're open to a lot of things. So the band that I'm known for, that's Psychedelic Horseshit, like that started in 2005, and I didn't know those guys. Like let me see if I can do this under 5. I had moved to the state of Washington in like 2004, 05, I think, and I put 10,000 records in a storage space in downtown Columbus, Ohio. 10,000.
Dang.
So when I came back to Ohio, my plan was to sell the records, and me and Kenny Stone would move to Seattle, Washington, right? And the thing is, like, I was in the process of, organizing and selling the records and going through 10,000 records, that's a lot, I probably missed that story, right? I didn't say I owned 10,000 in the late 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah, all of a sudden you just throw 10,000 at us. I was like, whoa, how did we get to 10,000?
So now during that whole time, when I was having the first record sale to make some good money, Kenny Stone, he passed away.
Oh man,
So
pour
when
some
he
out for
died,
Kenny.
right? So at that time, like I was kind of like, okay, then I'll still sell. Like I need to have 2 more sales to make up, a lot more money to then move to Washington State. And during that time, I met this guy that kept on walking past my storage space, like it was an indoor space. And it turns out that was one of the band members of Psychedelic Horseshit. And then he was like, well, when you're tired, I have a studio downstairs, because the storage space had that space. And I would hang out with him. And then one day he was kind of like, can you play drums? I'm like, yeah. But I think he saw like the drum kit in my storage space. But anyway, the point being is that he asked me to play. I said yes. And then before the day of rehearsals, he's like, I think I found a drummer. Can you play bass instead? I'm like, I could do that too. So then we all met, and that was that. Really, we were just going to play a show with him. It was nothing serious. We didn't have like aspirations to be the Rolling Stones or any of that, Maybe Donovan, circa 65.
Poor Donovan.
Donovan is
awesome,
the Dak of the music industry.
Correct.
Well, so what's the latest on that? Are you still doing stuff in a band, or what's the update?
I'm not
Or
playing.
can you not talk about it?
No, I can talk about it. Yeah. I'm not really playing with other bands like Psychedelic Horseshit. We had like a reunion, and I'll be honest, like we recorded songs enough for 2 albums.
Wow.
Hoping maybe it'll come out maybe this year, maybe,
Do you share any of that stuff on social or anything, or is it just wait till the album comes out?
I try not to, lose lips, sink ships.
Okay. Okay.
Only a few people I've actually, like talked about it with, but nothing else. because I
Got
kind of like want it to be a surprise when people hear the music.
Sure.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. Hell yeah, that's cool. So yeah, when you do get the vinyl pressing, shoot one my way.
Sure, of course.
We'll take it for a spin.
Well,
So what about DJing? Because if that's not enough, you also DJ. But people may know about your Sunday streams, where Jason DJs in the mornings, usually in a couple hours, as long as you can get away with it. How did that all start? Did that start on YouTube, or are you also a DJ from a past life?
Yes. So because I've owned 10,000 records, you're going to be friends with DJs eventually in Columbus, Ohio. Like the local music scene there is very small, you know, and you'll have people that want to, when, you can't even imagine. I wish I had a picture of it, like 10,000 records. Like you would be like, what the hell? And DJ friends would ask me like, hey, this person can't make it. Can you spin? And then that became a learning curve for myself, to spin records, or fill in for somebody, and one of the guys that I was DJing with, Adrian, like DJ True Skills, he's the guy that taught RJD2. So when you have that guy as your mentor,
damn.
he's going to rip on you when it doesn't sound good or you didn't do your transitions right. He's going to embarrass you like, oh, you're playing that, crappy record. Well, let me, get off this table and let me show you how it's done. So no pressure. Right?
That could be a good way to learn too, right? If you have a thick enough skin, you can kind of come out the other end like a way better, person.
Correct. So, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure like Questlove, right? He has that, what is that, master class video, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is like, you don't need that. You can hang out with, if you hang out with one of the best DJs in the city, you're going to learn, quick,
When you were DJing a lot, did that influence you to listen to guys like, and I'm just going tip of the iceberg, or like DJ Shadow and Peanut Butter Wolf and all of those DJs?
Yep.
You were interested in what they were doing from a production
bit.
standpoint?
Yes.
Yeah. DJ Qbert.
Those guys were like a bit more advanced than me, I think the other DJs in the city, they liked me because I hadn't come up from that hip hop background that they did, right?
Right.
I came from more of an eclectic, whether it was like rock and roll or R&B. So, but not like the R&B that people sampled, right? It was a different approach. So they were always, I hated this at the time, but everyone was paying attention to me in that city, what I was playing and records. And, you didn't want to play the same record twice at like an event. You know what I'm saying? You had to always have fresh shit.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing like a radio show? Have you ever done a radio show?
No. I maybe have guessed on like some radio shows, but I think if you're going to do that, right, you need to play music and it needs to be cleared and such, And it has to be, all scripted in a way, right?
Sure.
You can't.
How do you decide? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, like, you can't just go loose, and
Right.
play, something that could get you in trouble. Like, God forbid you play the Fremer record, for 3 hours.
3 hours of Fremer. I could take that. But
can you take a joke?
I can take a joke too. That's a good one.
Yikes.
Bump. See, he's paying attention. How do you decide what you're going to play? Because I'm curious. Everyone's got their own style. You play some really cool stuff. Are you just to kind of give people an idea? They're going to pop into one of your streams. Is it, do you have kind of a set list in mind before you start? Is there like themes or anything? Do you start out playing stuff that's a little more esoteric and then break into some, as the YouTube gods are coming for you, you start to go for the more mainstream stuff? How does that go?
There is no script. There is no plan. Like, I just go through the records, and sometimes I try to, to script it in a way, like there's a theme, but I thought like doing that is a little bit more contrived, It seemed I was trying too hard. So now I just pick up 45s and music I want to hear for the day and I play them, Hopefully I don't play any repeats, So, I actually missed my Sunday show because I was having internet problems and I forgot about daylight savings. I had like a box of 45s and I'm ready to spin, you know. Then I went
Nice.
downstairs through, I think I went through 5 boxes, pulled out a couple. That's it. Nothing special. Things I just want to hear. That's it. Nothing.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it definitely explains a lot because I think you go in there and it feels like you're going to hear something new. You're going to hear something different. You might hear something that's recognizable, but from back in the day you haven't heard in a while. And there's like this real eclectic. When I've been to your streams, there's like this really eclectic mix, and so it makes sense that it's like not overly scripted, which I think actually comes through and is a good thing.
Like the thing is, like when you're streaming, well, when I'm streaming on YouTube, like I don't want to compete with what other people are doing, like
Yeah.
Stunty, right? He's playing more esoteric stuff. Like I'm not going to do that. I'm not into the music that he's into, There's a guy who does do like 50s R&B and rock and roll. I don't forget what his channel is, but he's got like a good channel. It's like Jimmy's something or Corner. I don't know, but like I'm not going to do it. Like he looks like he had like DJ experience in the past. Like he's got that radio voice. Like he's not showing himself. Like he's just showing the turntables and just playing 45s, I don't even know if he has a script, but I mean, like he's just having fun. Like that's what I get,
Yeah. Sometimes you have a guest on there too, right? You do like a co-DJ deal. Talk about that.
So Nathaniel Mars, the Wolfman. Shout out to the Wolfman if you're watching. We're just doing that for fun. Like I met Nathaniel when I lived in Minneapolis, and I met him when he was still wearing the wolf mask, and I was like, "How's your wolf family doing?" Just kidding.
Have you ever seen his real face?
Yes. But I mean, the thing is, like, he and I are just having fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
and in some ways, like, we sometimes invite Jose on it, and it's like it's sort of like an upmanship in a way. Like, you're going to play this. Well, how am I going to top this? And that makes it fun. I mean, and that's in a way, that's like the old way where I would be DJing, back in Columbus, Ohio, right? If somebody's set was better, then you would have to prove yourself. You don't want to be spinning like common Motown. If that guy was like throwing down, Eugene McDaniels, you're not gonna win,
The DJ battle, like the rap battles.
Yes. So I think Andy G said it best. Yeah, it's Andy G. Shout out to you, buddy. You're right. It's Johnny G's Vinyl Treasure. Yeah, that channel it's great.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I wanted to kind of catch up on some of these comments and see if there's any questions for you here. Heard about pH through the Eclipse catalog, says a perfect prescription. I'm going back a while too. This is going to be like out of sync, but hopefully this, okay, sorry. Jason is being modest. That Psychedelic Horseshit album is a real gem and well worth looking into, says Vinyl Dreamscape.
So we could show it. Yes, let's show it. So this thing came out in 2007, and we'll give the secret away. I'll ask the panel and the chat here. The blue background, what is that from? Anybody?
The blue background.
On the record.
From another record, you mean? Or
correct, yeah.
I'm stumped. You got anything, Chris?
No.
I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the Beatles.
I mean, Abbey Road, the sky in Abbey Road. I don't know.
Live in Toronto, 1969. John Lennon, Yoko Ono.
Mm.
Can you see it now?
Nope.
No, you can't.
I'm not the best person to ask about John and Yoko.
Let me see if I can find it on. Let me see, because we have to show it at least. If I don't show that picture, it's not gonna make sense.
While you're looking for that, the phrase says, "Hell yeah, Jason! Look forward to hearing the music." Is Jason our proficient at beat matching? Vinyl Kicks wants to know.
Poorly. I do my best.
It's not about the beat matching. It's about the music. That's what you say if you're a bad beat matcher. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when you're with DJs that are good, especially the guy who taught RJ.
Well, then the
DJing,
next level's beat juggling, right?
you're just gonna be, laughed at, like.
Dead
could
Bob
do
says
better.
spontaneity is important. Seat of the pants radio can succeed. The freight. Every time I tune into Jason, I learn about something new. It's awesome. Jill says, why did that guy make mean videos about Jason? He seems cool. Oh, probably
we can
not.
go in there.
That's for another video.
No,
Rojas,
we can-
where's the cloud though? That's what throws me off.
You cut the
There you
cloud
Yeah,
out.
where's the? Okay.
Well, I mean, just because it looks like this doesn't mean the cloud has to be here. It could be there. Could be, there. You see what I'm saying, Group Seeker? Don't be fooled here.
You knew.
That is some horse shit if I've ever seen it.
I'll tell you another story. My good friend Ron House, he's like in Thomas Jefferson Slave Apartments, like they were like a noise band in Columbus, Ohio. He gave Psychedelic Horseshit, this record that was released in 2007, to Bob Pollard, lead singer of Guided by Voices, GBV. And what he told me is that Bob Pollard looked at the record and he looked at the back, and you can see that the back it's got all these other, like, you can see bad vibrations stolen from that Capitol swirl. Bob Pollard said, some people think I'm psychedelic horseshit. So pretty cool,
Wait, can you give us a hint to the kind of music that's on there, Jay? What can we expect to hear from Psychedelic Horseshit?
Probably like what? Some noise rock, Sonic Youth stuff, some sort of strokish, some crazy shit. I mean, Magic Flowers Drone. This is a quote from Rambo, I believe. So
Got it.
it's sort of like a mix. I believe, the lead singer, he was really he liked eclectic music as much as I do. Like he into television, into the Strokes, into the, the Congos, all this crazy stuff. And a lot of the stuff I had never listened to. So, I mean, I'd spent a lot of time with him, like listening to records and talking about it and stuff. And that just went into the pot of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there is dub on here, There's even one song where it's sort of like a tribute to the Velvet Underground, where one track is on the left side and another track is on the right side.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
Whew.
called
Well,
The
there you go.
Mashup.
That's wild. Well, you have to spin that some Sunday. You won't get kicked off for playing that.
No, I played it a few times for fun,
Yeah.
I think somebody like Zeb, if you're watching, right? He requested this. I played it. And, it was a tough thing for me to listen to because I couldn't listen to it objectively,
Yeah.
I had helped to make it, and I struggled with this record. Some of the songs I didn't like, we played it, and I was like, I couldn't make, I don't know, that's the thing. I have like a love and hate for this. I'm proud of it, but I can't think of it objectively, But it
Gotcha.
made a lot of people's like best of in 2007. I think Pitchfork gave us what, a 6.
There you go. That's good. That's better than a 4.
It's true.
Go ahead.
No, that's good. It's fun.
Tap Records says he's ready to battle you on the turntables.
No way, nuh-uh. Terry, Tap
Let's-
Records is way better than me. I'm so glad we didn't have our meetup tonight. He would have put me to shame or something if he wanted.
Hey, we have to make this happen. Please do it on this
that.
channel. We will broker that battle. Yeah, lots of other questions. Sorry, guys, I'm not getting to as much today. We're just having a combo with Jay, but I appreciate everyone for being here. Shout out to everyone that's here. Thank you so much. Well, we got a game on tap. Chris, do you have anything else before we jump into this game? We got a little game of it's a kind of a rating game. You've seen them. We're gonna make Jay and even Group Seeker rate some reissues, and we'll share the screen and have some fun with that. But
I have, and I don't know what the time restraints are, but I have a ton of questions for for Jason if you
I'm good as long as Jason is.
Should we answer a couple of the questions real quick in the chat before
Yeah, let's
we
do
go
it. Do you
hard?
see anything particular you
Yeah.
want to jump on?
So DJ Poems, welcome. What are the do's and don'ts of DJing on YouTube? Dead silence sucks. Like, try not to do that. If you're going to play well-known songs, save them till later in the set because the YouTube copyright algorithm is watching and listening. So if you save it like after the first hour, then you're golden, right? Because you've just spun like an hour of music, right? You know, do's, don't try to impress anybody. Play stuff you like, you know. There's no reason to play things because you're trying to win subs or views. That doesn't matter. You're not gonna have a good time. Like, all that matters is you having an interaction with people in the chat and you're playing music. Simple.
When the YouTube police do come for you, it seems like they keep your video up at least, right? Because they kick you off, but at least you have your video for
Yep.
future people to watch.
Yep. Usually, what goes on after the video has been, stopped, it takes them a couple hours for it to upload and check on YouTube officially. And usually, my DJ streams are banned in Russia and Belarus. So, too bad. sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry to all those folks in Russia.
Some of the questions I have for you are a bit philosophical, and some are very direct to current state of things in the vinyl world. But one thing I always ask people, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I've learned, and I think I suspected this, that you were just into music way before records, but records have obviously enhanced that. If the records went away for you, would you still be as deeply passionate about music and listening to music, or is it really now so tied and anchored by the records that it would be hard to separate the two?
No, I think I'd be joining you in DAC fantasy land, as long as the DAC was big and the transformer was good enough or the chip was good enough to sample it well or whatever.
I was gonna say, I think Chris is asking for a friend.
I'd be okay with it because, like, who knows when the vinyl, resurgence will end, like, who wants to pay hundreds of dollars on records? I don't know. Like I said, it's spend hundreds of dollars or have some steaks with my bros at Peter Luger's Steakhouse.
I like that. Speaking of the vinyl resurgence, so, I just met you guys, maybe 6 months ago. I was watching you guys on your streams and stuff, and then I was blessed with Spinz letting me on live and getting to know a lot of you guys. But I guess you're one of the few, at least in our demographic or age range, that have kind of lived through the downslope in the 90s and the early 2000s. And you saw it coming back in a cool way with like specific bands pressing new records and, probably up until I guess around 2019, 2020 is probably where I think it really started to get out of hand, and it's probably peaked since like 22, 23, just being a little crazy. So you've been on this roller coaster the whole time. What was your entrance into what we refer to as the vinyl community? Like, how did you break in and get involved in doing these streams and having a presence on YouTube?
Now we're going deeper. This is what you want, Groove Seeker. All right. So during the pandemic, you couldn't go out. Just started looking at YouTube videos. I had discovered Norman Maslow, Mazzy, right, and Michael 45. Even discovered like Mike Esposito in Groove, right? So a lot of the bigger channels I saw on YouTube, and then that all kind of led to Rachel's Ghost and, maybe participating in that, and participating also meant that maybe I could eventually meet these guys one day and see what they were like, So,
understood.
In the past, I think 2-3 years, I've met Mazzy, I met Michael 45, I met Stunty, met our fellow concert buddy, met Vinyl Piper, I met Cesar, I met Harry's Music, met Kimbo, Trying to think who else met.
He's gonna meet Spinz Vinyl and Groove Seeker at WFMU in New York, November 8th
right.
and 9th.
These guys are going to try to, block me from buying cool records. We'll see about that. I met Arnaldo, right? And that's the thing. Like, you wanted to meet people and hang out. Like, I met, Jazz Bums Mike, I met David Bianco. Jeez, to me, that was the thing. Like, you had a community once, the pandemic and the rules sort of lessened, then you can meet people and hang out and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not going to say like Groove Seeker, like I'm the most innocent person in the VC. That's not necessarily true, I think I courted controversy because, a lot of people, I have hot records. People were jealous of me, like you can't just go around and, see, I'm ready, Mr. Spinz, I'm ready. You can't just go around and be like, yo, what up?
There's your thumbnail, folks.
You can't. While people were satisfied with their U.S. pressings, they didn't know me, who was learning about this stuff in the 90s. Like I saw, this is the Led Zeppelin Turquoise. I saw this in 1997, 98 for $250. Now, I was a broke college kid. I couldn't afford this, but it dawned on me that one day when I get my real grown-up job, I'll be looking for this, So I think I bought my copy, 10, 15 years ago when prices were not crazy, I mean, and the same thing goes with like a couple other rare records that, I wanted to hear, right? And that's the thing, like I think some people were satisfied with, certain pressings or they didn't know about it, while I had like a, sort of curiosity, mentorship, talking about, do you have this? No, I don't. Okay, well then I guess I have to go buy it and find out for my, self, So craziness. I mean, no one. This is to make Vinyl Piper upset here. We'll just go through it. This is the mono. This is the stereo. Why did I go crazy on this? Well, because you wanted to know which one was the better version. Like I couldn't help it. And I feel bad, like when I hung out with Vinyl Piper, like he didn't come up. Like we could have just spent hours at my crib, just listening to these records and finding out, are they worth the money or not? Only you could tell me after I've played it,
Well, shout out Vinyl Piper, and he's no stranger to multiple copies, right? He just dropped a video of Dark Side of the Moon where he has a nice little stack going of as many different presses as he can accumulate. So go check that video out too, guys.
Do you see his question on here?
Yeah, what do you think of Kevin Gray? I knew you were going to see it eventually. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, I was waiting for Vinyl Piper to mention it. His question is, do you have many Kevin Gray remastered albums? Do you have an opinion?
That's straight humor right there.
Yeah, I know.
Jason has no opinion. For those that don't know, he has no opinion on Kevin Gray.
What do you think about the trajectory of this thing we all kind of get involved in and spend time with on a day-to-day basis? I know it means a lot to a lot of people. But as you've seen it evolve, are you where do you think this goes, the vinyl community, and do you think it has a positive impact the way it once had?
Now there we go. Waiting for the hard one. I think the impact has changed. Why? Maybe because overhype or something. So, or if you're hyping up an original or showing an original, that price goes up. Now people want that thing, and now maybe it becomes unaffordable, right? Like, do you really want to pay $100, right? So that's tough. And then they have a reissue that comes out, and then you have like some, maybe we'll go for a silly example, like me. I go hating on this Kevin Gray reissue, right? Maybe that's not fair too, because that company wants to put out these albums because the OG is hard to get, right? And yes, they're kind of doing like everyone a solid in the vinyl community by having that music out there, right? And that may lead to like other albums that don't get attention to be also reissued, right? So it's kind of like a quandrum in a way. Like, I don't want to diss reissues all the way that bad, you know? But then I can't help it. I have no control if the original sounds better than the reissue, you know? That's outside of my ability, right? Unless I start a, vinyl community mastering school, and we all master like Kevin Gray. So there you go, Vinyl Piper. I said it. You better get those drinks in every time I mention Kevin Gray. So I don't know if I answered your question, Groove Seeker. It's kind of like I've seen it grow. I've seen it get more attention. I've seen people sort of try to, use their channels to sell records or shill them, and I don't really like that, I know that they're trying to spread the music, but then there's ulterior motives that, I cannot get into, So
Well, I think that's the value of your shootout approach. I know you can't do a shootout on everything,
correct.
you don't, I watch all these videos. We've all watched them where someone stands in front of a camera and they say, I listened to 75 copies of, Let It Be, and this is what I think is the best. But no one is actually, and I know it's difficult, no one's actually playing the audio and just saying, here's this version, here's that version. Just have a face off with these two. And I grew up like you, not from a sound perspective, but from like a mentorship perspective, where it was like, I'm not going to tell you that you should have this. I'm going to present this to you and let's talk about it and let's make a decision, or you make a decision. And maybe you get guided a little bit subconsciously. That's why, I think it's important that your shootouts do get spotlight, just for the sheer fact that you leave it up to the viewer to make that decision. And yeah, you give your commentary for 30 seconds at the end, and some are a little bit more extreme than others, or more opinionated, but no one can walk away saying, I like that version or I don't like that version, without them actually experiencing it, which has a huge value. I wish these videos were more available, and I wish they were available on the record journey for people. Because imagine if you had this 20 years ago, or I had it 15 or 10 years ago, it'd be a totally different ball game,
Of course, like I agree. I kind of wish that I had these videos when I started, right? And that's sort of like giving back, Yes, I mean, a lot of people say I'm a bit controversial. I'm only speaking my mind, and the only way I can contribute to the vinyl community, not showing off like expensive records, but like we listen to the records and we compare them, and I'm not going to tell you which one is the best, You should read the Hoffman forums when I like did the Doors comparison, like the Rhino
I did.
Hi-Fi versus the original. That stuff was hilarious, But that's, to me, yeah, it's just giving information back, I don't need to say anything else right about it. It's just, I kind of wish it was, back, those things existed during our time, and we can't do what ifs. Now they're available now, and I can, I'll keep on doing them as much as I can, right? As long as I have the records, right?
Well, and the other thing too, that you're this is just my interpretation of this, but you're buying at a time when it was affordable to take that risk, right? Versus someone now, if you're going to go seek out those Zombies mono and stereo in VG plus, you're paying a pretty penny for both of those, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, this is what I suggest. Like, if you're new and you want this, I wouldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't pay for this. You need to find a person who owns this and come over and listen. So anybody, whoever seeks me out, you're more than welcome. If you want to meet up, we'll listen to these rare records. There's no reason for you to spend, the money that you could be spending on, steaks at Peter Luger's, or soup dumplings in Chinatown in New York, you know, or fancy meatballs in Brooklyn, you know. Like we can hang out and we can listen to them, and if I have the reissue, we can even do a comparison, you know. That's all it is, and talk about what you're hearing. That's it.
Yeah, I guess like I think it's okay to be an elitist if you haven't gone through the experience, but the way the things get hyped up or shot down or addressed in a way of like a gatekeeping sense, it really rubs me the wrong way. So
Well,
that
yeah, because you have to think about it. Like I can't, like you were saying earlier, like I was lucky because I was buying these for next to nothing, you know. That's it. And so, what are people unlucky trying to buy these now? Like, yeah, but they don't have
yeah,
to, you know. Um, the music is meant to be shared, right? You have to give the music back to the people, you know. So I'm hoping that I contribute in some ways doing that, right?
100%, 100%.
Anything else, Groove Seeker?
I got plenty more, but I know we're up against time.
So
So
yeah, Grove Seeker, you didn't ask like why are you the VC devil? Why do everyone hate you on YouTube vinyl community? Come on.
well, why? I wasn't gonna go there per se, but why is that? I like what? Why is there so much disdain amongst people in this realm? Like, what's the point? And why does it happen to you?
Uh, Good question. That's a tough one. I think it's because I do have some of these rare records. I was opening my third eye, right, in my ears when people were, you know, were already settled with their collection or what they were hearing. Um, when I started DJing and having the two turntables, I was like, wait, everyone said the Beatles UK pressings were better than the US. How could that be true? So then I would buy, you know, a stack of UK from the UK, right? UK pressings. And at that time, right, nobody cared. So then you could buy like, you know, Beatles Help for like less than, you know, £5 or €5, right? And you wouldn't buy one, right? So I'd buy a package deal, get them all, you know, and then call my friend. Shout out to Zach if he's watching. Zach, he had a music degree. He graduated in like vocal studies, so he had all that theory knowledge. And we would sit there and like listen and A/B and talk about what we were hearing, you know. So again, he was a good mentor, friend, you know, another person to just bounce ideas with, right? So I mean, I had all that knowledge, and then you had people on YouTube coming around and, you know, whether like they were fake experts or they're trying to, you know, grow a market or sell records or whatever, you know, like I don't have any of these underlying motives, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
then, you know, maybe I blame myself for like calling people out, right? Maybe that's not a good idea to do that on social media, right? You know?
fair,
So I
fair.
take accountability for like all my videos, good and bad, you know? Like I won't take them down. Like those were like a history, you know? I think like I started the YouTube channel, I think in 06, 07 or something like that. And you can see I didn't have any vinyl community videos. I just did live concerts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's interesting as you learn more and more about this stuff. It's like there's an underbelly of things going on. So, um, yeah, no, I appreciate that insight.
Vinyl Piper going hard with his question. Should I read this out before we start the game? Or...
Yeah, go for it.
Vinyl Piper says, Jason, last year, about the time you were part host of the troll ranking videos, will you update that video for this year? Only if there's a need for it, Vinyl Piper. Only if there's a need for it. There you go.
So you're saying you're like Superman. You only don the S when you have to.
Well, in the vinyl community, you live long enough, right, to become the VC villain. There you go.
Okay. I was just making sure you saw my message.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you say? A little game? Everyone
Putting them
likes
to the
it.
test.
We'll put you to the test. You guys can both work on this. And of course, people in chat can play along too.
Rojas is stage, man.
Play along in chat. This isn't one where I'm going to share the link. This is a little bit different, but you guys have seen this one before too. Let's throw it up. Boom. All right. So I know that Jay specializes in Kevin Gray remasters. And so I thought...
Well, hold up. Before you say that, I've owned a bunch of them, you know, and I'm lucky enough to have the originals. So then when I compared them, like, it's not his fault. I mean, maybe, I didn't know, like, maybe that's what the label wanted, or maybe that's, you know, boost the mid-range, boost the bass. Like, I wasn't going to affect the sales, you know, of that, you know.
Yeah, I joke. I know that you guys go hand in hand. So let's go down this list. I pulled a bunch of stuff. These are a bunch of reissues, you know, typical reissues. We're going to have MoFis. We're going to have ERCs. We're going to have UHQRs. We're going to have some Rhino. And I thought we would just rank these. So we'll go S, A, B, C, D, and just see what you think. We'll save some of the best for last. Some of the more current stuff. So Velvet Underground box set. Rhino. Any opinion on this one, Jay?
I actually own that. Now, wait, how are we rating this? What is this? S.
Well, so S is, you know, that's the highest of highs. That's your A+++. If we were grading a record, it would be mint plus. And then go down from there. So S, A, B, C, and D, just like a report card.
Okay, so I compared.
I'm sorry, I'm hiding behind the records here, but I want to make sure these guys are visible.
I did compare this. Do you want me to rate it on beating the original, or just rate it on total?
Yeah, whatever you think.
Package?
I mean, is this? Yeah, you'd be the judge. I think there's probably different criteria for each of these, maybe. But you know, is this? How do you feel they did on this? Is this something that you feel good about?
I think the packaging, the extras. I mean, they included the mono, so I would give this an A. But like sound-wise, like they messed up. Maybe they didn't listen to the original. You know, so that's like a cross between an A and a B, you know?
Okay.
Because
so presentation gets an A.
Yes, but the quality, they didn't listen to it. Like, people tend to forget that Loaded was made during a tough time for the Velvet Underground, like Lou Reed. I think he was exhausted. Like, he didn't... How do I say this? Like, he had spent all this time and he hooked up with Warhol and they had 0 hits, you know? And this was the album called Loaded, right? Loaded with hits.
Mm-hmm.
And it still did poorly, you know? And this came out and he'd already been, you know, he already passed away. So we'll give this like an A, right?
Overall A, you think?
Yeah.
What about October 31st, 1998, when Fish covered Loaded entirely at a live show? Have you heard that version?
You don't have to answer that, Jay. we have 20 of these freaking things we got to get through.
Oh, you got 20?
Well, we'll get as many as we can. We'll get through as many as we can. All right, Pet Sounds, the MoFi.
I've never owned the MoFi. Never owned it.
Never heard it?
No.
What about you, Chris? Any thoughts on Pet Sounds, the MoFi presentation?
I have never heard it.
Or anybody in chat.
I've only... No, it's overrated anyway.
Pet Sounds is overrated? I expected you to say that. I haven't heard it either. We'll put it down here until someone chimes in from chat. All right. UHQR, A Love Supreme. Either of you own this one or heard it?
I used to.
I do.
Used to own it.
Ooh, if you used to own it, that already sounds like a bad sign.
Well, it's cut in stereo. I've only learned, you know, when I had the record back in the early 2000s or late 90s, I only heard it in mono. Now, why? Because who's the drummer? Elvin Jones? Is that it? That guy, no one's going to tell Elvin Jones to drum like he's on a Cat Stevens record. No. It's Elvin Jones. He's going to knock you out. It's called Love Supreme. So if you separate him in stereo, now you're panning him. No.
The polyrhythmic beats of Elvin Jones.
You know, he's supposed to be up front, you know, in a way, because I think they all have like solos on the record. So yeah, like I actually compared it with the stereo and the mono and then that, and I give it a D.
Ooh, okay. Straight to the basement.
But no, let's hear what Groove Seeker. Groove Seeker.
Go ahead, Groove Seeker. Groove Seeker, what's your thoughts?
I'd give it a B. Like I don't have a mono, so I'm happy with it. But I also have like 3 other reissues of the stereo, so it's not my favorite of the reissues, but I don't mind it. It's a fun listen.
All right, we'll give it. Well, we're gonna stick it in the middle at a C. You said C, you said B, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone got the or heard the MoFi of Dark Side of the Moon and Vinyl Piper? Feel free to jump in on this one.
Rojas, just be careful because I'm putting mine on Discogs this week, so just be careful.
Which one do you have? You have the MoFi?
I do. I have various pressings of this. Yeah.
All right.
I used to own this.
Okay. I used to.
That's right.
I can sense it's going to go down here.
Okay, let me ask a couple of questions to the panel and to the chat. When you hear Dark Side of the Moon, what are you looking for? Are you looking for this soulful feeling that comes out? Or are you looking for clarity of instruments?
It sounds weird. It sounds weird to say, but I guess when you say soulful clarity, I'm looking for like that deafening groove. There's a groove to this record. So I guess it's the soulfulness.
So okay, which is the one with David Gilmour's like crushing guitar solo? Isn't that it's on the A side, right? It's the song before what, Great Gig in the Sky, right? Oh, no, it's after the first track, right? He crushes it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
David Gilmour, he's supposed to crush it. Like he's not supposed to be smothered like butter. Like that's
the off button says Vinyl Dreamscape.
He's not supposed to sound like butter on that MoFi. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's supposed to be crushing it, you know?
All right, so I have as much time as you do, Jay. I mean, we could be here all night.
All right, C. I'll give it a C.
Okay.
Damn it.
You can give it a B.
Oh, go.
I'm not giving it a B. It's going up for sale this week.
All right. I heard it was the 30th anniversary. Which one's the best one? The 30th, the 50th? Which one are we supposed to buy?
You know, Concert Buddy and Jose came here, and one of Concert Buddy, like his request, can we listen to Dark Side of the Moon? I'm like, okay. We listened to the original UK and the 30th was actually really close. Really, really close. You know?
Okay, that's good to know. That's my speed. Okay, next up, how about a little Bitches Brew? Again, I guess all the MoFis are on top. So here's the MoFi Bitches Brew. Thoughts on Bitches Brew? Or
I used to own that.
That's a common theme we have tonight.
Correct. Yeah. So you're gonna find out like my habits have changed now.
Okay.
The MoFi, it did something to the original. I don't know. Like the original is supposed to pop with the percussion and the band. It seems like this one's muffled on the MoFi. I wish I did the video for it. It would have caused some controversy. So I give it D for death of Bitches Brew.
Any thoughts?
Fight me, Groove Seeker. Fight me.
I'm not going to fight you on it because I think actually, I don't know if you heard the VMP cut, but the VMP cut of this is very good.
Okay.
Versus the MoFi. MoFi is like a B.
Oh, no. You're right. You're actually right. I had the VMP box. Forgot all about it. I sold that one too. It's actually closer to the original, like Ryan K. Smith. I think he did his homework. Like he actually listened, and yeah, it's close. Yeah, definitely. Beats the MoFi for sure. I agree.
All right, I should have had a VMP on here. All right, let's jump into these UHQRs. What say you about a little Asia?
It's a tough one
Ooh,
because
that was a heavy sigh.
I still own this.
Okay,
I
that's a good sign.
still promised myself that I would finish the whole series. It definitely sounds better than the Cisco that Kevin Gray did. Does it beat the original? Again, I think like must be Chad's thing to sort of boost the mid range, but this time with him boosting the mid range didn't really hurt the I guess the artist's intent of the record. So, and I enjoyed listening to it, but it's not the record I pull out when I want to hear Asia. So I give it a B.
Well, I give it an A. There's thing I have a white label promo of this. I have the AB. I have a lot of versions of this record, and it's pretty good. It depends what kind of mood I'm in too, right? So I feel like the UHQR on this is it demands your attention, where the original pressings are just a little bit more about the music. Just how do I say this? It's hard because I haven't done these side by side in months, or back to. I can't do them side by side. I do them back to back. It's a good pressing. Do you need? Let's put it like this: you don't need the UHQR to be satisfied because the first pressings are very good. That's my opinion.
I agree.
I had the Cisco. I sold that a long time ago.
So I'm pulling this up next because of your comment. How does have you guys heard this?
Oh yes, I used to own it.
Okay, so how does this compare to the comment Chris just made about Asia comparing to the original? Is it similar kind of deal, or is this one way different? How would you know what I'm saying?
What's his comment on it?
Well, you said Chris, like, this is, if you want to hear, do you remember what you said?
Yeah, like on the Asia UHQR, it's like immersive, and like you're listening with intent. But like when you put like an original on, it's a little bit more about the
groove.
music.
It's
more groove, right?
Well,
the groove is very forced. The groove is, listen, I love the UHQR in Asia. It sounds fantastic, but the groove is very forced. It feels like, where it's like, and I'm also used to listening to a different version of it. But I played the hell out of this Asia UHQR.
So now going to Michael Jackson Thriller.
So yeah, on that note.
Well, you wanted me to clarify my question.
No. I'm saying that.
Oh.
No. That's what I wanted, because I felt like, in my mind, I felt like people have said similar things about this record.
So this one is a different experience, right? I think if you want to get more clarity, remember what I asked about earlier, in more detail, you'll get this with the Mo-Fi Thriller, right? But I don't think, and this is, again, my only opinion, this was not the intent of Quincy or Michael, They wanted you to get yourself immersed in the music and not pay attention to whether there were hand claps or not. Right?
That's off the wall.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They just wanted to get your butt moving and dancing and like hear his eclecticism, right? And like his lyrics too, right? Because, Billie Jean, right? That was about a stalker, like that's crazy, and he was singing about that, Then he had that syrupy stuff with Paul McCartney, right? But I think with that Mo-Fi, you're sort of missing that. You're missing the groove. You're getting more audio-filed, right? So, and that's the thing, like I'm moving away from all of that. So maybe I'd give it C for a good attempt, right?
I think this would probably sound best like when you're at a wedding and Thriller comes on, you can go hit the bar for a little bit and then come back when it's over. I think that's
not the way. You're supposed to be on the dance floor when it hits.
It's I guess
whole thing, right?
I didn't, just the philosophy behind it. I didn't hear this, but I don't know if I'd want like an audiophile dance record. I just don't get it.
I'd love us to review the Mariah Carey Christmas record. That would have been.
Chris is like, no chance. Okay. Well, I tried to save this for last, but let's just break it out. So here's your latest, greatest. Katie, like, be careful now, Jason. We do have Steely Dan fanboy in the house.
He already knows my opinion on this.
And you know my opinion on it.
That's right, I do. And that's why when my video comes out, I'll be receiving a lot of death threats or something crazy. But you'll hear it for yourself, I'm happy that he's doing them all. 30 how much is he pressing? 10,000, 15, 20? 20,000.
I think he did 10 or 15 of these. 20 was Asia. 20 was Asia and Gaucho, maybe.
Wow. So anyways, let me rate this. I'd give it a C, because once I do the comparison video and it lands, I think I can see why people would like it, but I think it just misses the point of the record. But I think that this record, right, Katie Lied, it just has so much convoluted, mastering history, right?
We are stacking up the C's at this point.
I know people are seeing what I actually.
Okay, none of us have heard this, so this is going to be more like thoughts on the ERC $600 version of your Grateful Dead Europe 72, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think, Jay? Is this for you?
No, because I've owned 2 ERCs. I think we talked about this in one of your videos.
Right.
Like, it's probably one of the first ERCs in a long time not to sell out at the day of. It was released.
It's sold out now, so if you didn't get yours, get ready to pay up in the secondary market.
Thing is, like the tube system that ERC has, it could be more illuminating, or too illuminating, right? Because they're not really doing anything with the compression or the EQ, right? So if there are damages to the tape, or you could tell that Jerry overdubbed the guitar on this one song, you're going to be able to hear that clearly on the ERC, right? And that may affect what you're hearing or what you're getting through this, and it could cloud your opinion of this. So, I mean, that's what ERC does. So like the Doors thing, right? The tape was damaged. People heard that, right? And they were like, man, I paid $500 for hot pile poop. That's true. You did, like, what can you say, So, I mean, this thing, since I haven't heard it, like it's a mystery, we'll put it in the middle of the B.
Any comments on this one, Chris?
I don't know why they did this, but
you know why they did this. They're opening the market here. They're feeling it,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they did it. I mean, they sold out of it, so there you go.
They sold out. They sold out of it, but they didn't sell out of it to their standards. And in fact, if we didn't have a video probably bashing the idea, I don't think they would have sold out. Having Rojas on that stream against it made people go out and buy it.
Oh boy, we have so much influence.
You wait, Groove Seeker. Ghost is Born Wilco on ERC. You're going to be the first one, right, to buy it.
If they're not warped, yeah.
How many times do you think? Okay, here it is. Over under on how many times Groove Seeker is going to have to return this record before he gets a flat pressing.
We'll find out tomorrow.
All right, next up, little Gil Scott right there. You either have or had, right, Jay? Did I get that right on this one or no?
Used to have it.
Used to have. This a used to have.
Yes.
Okay. Should I just drop it in a D and we move on?
No. It actually, so there's a reason why mastering exists. The ERC actually comes up with like a bigger bass sound, and I don't think that's the intention of this record. Like, it still sounds good, but the intention of the record is Gil Scott Heron. He's the poet. He's the singer. You're paying attention. You're paying attention to how his words and how he sang them. And if it's overpowered by the bass guitar, then That's a no. That's
N-
not my thing.
No
So we'll
good.
give it a C. You
All
know?
right. Another C. There we go. How about Stooges? Same thing. ERC Stooges. How much is this one now? $400 probably on Discogs.
Who knows? I actually heard it. I don't own it. Hey Joe, if he's watching, shout out to him. He got it the day of. I was in New York. We listened to it, and I kept remarking, "This thing's boosted or something." You know, like I don't. It's supposed to have crushing trebly guitar. Like this don't have it. You know.
Mm. Well, so then we can't give it a C. Please say we're not giving this a C.
I'm gonna give it a D
All
because
right,
it's not the
straight to
right.
the D's.
Groove Seeker. Have you heard that one yet? No.
No,
Okay.
not the ERC.
No crushing guitars is a D for you. All right, how about Love? Same thing, ERC.
Never heard of it. When I was
Or Vinyl
You know-
Piper, chime in on this one.
Vinyl Piper, like he tried to find this when I was staying with him, and we did not. He was unable to find it, so we did not compare it. So I don't know, like because
I think
don't
he
know.
has one though, right? I thought I saw.
No,
he
he
had-
does. He does. So I don't know it. So B, I don't know it.
All right, we'll put it in B until we hear back from Vinyl Piper. We did Thriller. Skip. Okay, here you go. Miles Davis, Kinda Blue, MoFi. I know we got couple different ones here, right? So I guess take your pick, whatever. I don't know if this is stereo, mono.
This is when I don't remember if I actually owned this or not. I don't think I've ever owned the MoFi. Kind of blue.
Chris, any thoughts on this?
Can't. I mean, it's my favorite album ever, so I own it. It's a different tape. I think it's a 3-track tape they used on this. It's in stereo. It's okay.
How okay? Like B okay or C okay?
Yeah, it's like. I mean, it's kind of blue. I mean, even a bad version is good, so I give it a B.
Okay.
I know they used a different tape than what Chad used and some of the other reissues. So,
Anyone here or have had the MoFi of American Beauty, The Grateful Dead?
I used to own
I
the
had it.
80s MoFi of this cut by Stan Ricker, I believe.
Did you compare it to the original?
Yeah, I did. This one's brighter than the original. Now, whether that was the intent or not, I have no clue because the original actually sounds like a Woody record, like very muffled, but it has sort of like that charm, right? Now, if we try to put more clarity on those instruments and make it brighter, I mean, at first I liked it, and then like I thought about it and listened to it again, I didn't like it, and I eventually sold it because I don't know, like Stan Ricker, like you've done a good job, but on other records, but this one, yeah,
Maybe too good.
perhaps, yeah. So maybe a B for this.
it's weird because I had this and I sold it too, but it's weird because if there's one thing on this record that they should have highlighted, it's the harmonies on this record are unbelievable. And you're right, it was more focused on the music or the instrumentation. Wasn't terrible, it just wasn't it shouldn't be. It's a Grateful Dead studio album. It shouldn't be that clean.
I'm wondering if we're going to get any S love today.
Just-
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
it's-
Here's one. All right, Electric Lady Studios right here. The box set. Jimi Hendrix has been recommended to me personally by the Groove Seeker. I need to find one of these. I am the buyer for this. What do you guys think?
I don't own that.
Wait, what?
This is Electric Lady Studios, right? The Jimi
Yeah,
Hendrix
but why?
box.
You didn't. Did you listen to it?
No.
Why not?
This.
You're
Why
over.
not?
You're over the Jimmy reissue. You're over the Jimmy
Well,
archive.
The thing is, like, what is it? QRP or whatever. You know, they did a version in 2010s. You know,
But
I
not,
don't-
but this
must be-
is
but this is
Sorry,
different,
go ahead.
right?
Yeah, this is outtakes and
Okay.
unreleased stuff. A lot of
Yeah.
it.
No, I've not listened to the outtakes. I just know that when people keep on asking Chad to do like Electric Ladyland, dude's already done it in the 2010s. They just ain't looking. Like he pressed it. Bernie Grunman cut it, and it actually sounds very close to the UK, you know.
You're talking about the standard stereo and mono reissues they did.
It's in a box set. It also has like a live record.
Oh, I have that box too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't have this, so I can't speak of it. So I give it a B. Can't speak of it. It's in the middle.
Go ahead,
It's,
Kusik.
it's an A. I mean, it's like not an S because there's nothing to compare it to. It's a unreleased compilation. So, but it's awesome. Give me more. Just empty the vaults.
Yeah, I got to hear this. Music and Nas is a good question. How much does listening to the original pressing color your impressions of reissues?
Uh,
A lot.
I think it does a lot. No, you're right. It's a lot actually. I mean, there's only like, in my opinion, John, right? Music in the House. There's only like maybe 10% of the reissues actually blow my mind. A good one is like the band, Music in the Pink, and then the self-titled in 1969. For some reason, the instrumentation was like, panned too far left, too far right. And those reissues that came out, I think, in the 2010s, they remixed it and remastered it, and Robert Ludwig was all on it, and he did an amazing job. And I think those reissues beat the originals. There you go.
All right, let's go. Coltrane, Giant Steps. This is, what is this? Now I've forgotten. I think this is the, I don't know what release.
The Rhino 60th, which has the mono and stereo.
I was just saying, I think this is the Rhino. This is the one I have actually.
So you have the double with the mono and the stereo?
No, I just have a Rhino.
Okay.
Yeah. Which this is notoriously a bad. There's not a lot of great issues of this. Notoriously, it's tough to find nice pressings. So why I went for the Rhino, because it was an affordable one that people spoke fairly highly of. So that's why I went for it.
I used to have the twofer. Used to. I have the original mono. I can't remember the comparison. So maybe like a B, because I can't remember.
Do you have the Groove Seeker? Any thoughts?
I have a bunch. I had the mono box. I have the twofer. I have the Atlantic 75. I have the ORG reissue. I think the twofer is pretty good. I would give it a B.
Okay. Yeah, B's not bad. Credence box, the complete studio albums.
This isn't the AP box, right?
I don't remember. This is a Rhino. Is this a Rhino set?
I don't know.
I thought you guys would know this for sure.
Nope. I can't speak on that one. Like, I only know the AP box. Like, I think I've said it before. Like, I'm so crazy. I own the 33 and the 45 AP boxes,
We'll just move on then. Bootleg series. This is volumes 1 and 3. I don't know how many this got, but let's consider the whole series, I guess. Rare and unreleased. You guys know, I'm assuming Groove Seeker knows about this one, but I don't know if Jay does.
So
you're talking about?
Okay.
Yeah, I own them all on vinyl and CD.
There we go.
and soon coming to a DAC near you very soon.
Like musically, this and like you could get away. This is a very controversial statement. You could get away with having this and Biograph and like be okay if you didn't want Dylan albums. Like it's a good anthology or compilation of really cool stuff. This is like essential though if you're a Dylan fan. Like I would, after people got through like their first 4 or 5 albums, they started to get curious. Like I would be very comfortable giving them this set.
Okay. That's
I
high
don't know how you
marks. So are we tossing this into S category?
We would, because at the time when it came out, it's one of the first box sets that shocked a lot of people. And, I don't even think Dylan was, I think he was surprised, right? He didn't know that this was going to sell.
Yeah,
Or
it was.
interest in this sort of, his leftovers.
Yeah, this is it's a great set. Actually, and it just got issued on vinyl only like 4 or 5 years ago, right? It was only on CD and tape forever.
That's not true. It was actually released
not?
in Europe in the 90s when this came out.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Jill has a great question. It's a big can of worms. I wonder if one of you guys or Jay or collectively take a whack at, and I wouldn't say it's all the time, but why do new pressings sound worse?
They don't. They just sound
to get
different.
that impression based on today's conversation.
Well, I think look, my comparison point is I grew up on CDs and digital and MP3s, so like the reissues are a gift for me, right? I didn't have the same trajectory. That's why I'm glad Jason went into his history earlier in the conversation. I didn't have, number one, I don't have the access to everything he has. Number two, I didn't have the knowledge. I only learned 15 years ago that vinyl and CDs sound different. I just thought all music sounded the same, like so. I don't think they sound bad. I think it's number one, it's what you prefer. Number two, it's what your benchmark is, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of it
number
has to
three,
do with expectations, right? If you've heard,
and how critical you are.
Some of it has to do with quality of tape, right? Jay touched on that. Is that the tape deteriorates over time, and as they continue to remaster these and put them out, that's problematic. And oftentimes they have to resort to digital matters, like MoFi has done, well known in the past. That's going to leave a bad taste in certain vinyl collectors' mouths that want all analog. They don't even want to consider the digital step being in the mix somewhere. So what about you? Do you have anything? I'm sure you have something to add to that, Jay. Well, we only have try to give us the short version.
I mean, like you said, tape. Sometimes that's what the label wants, to make it sound like that.
They're remastering oftentimes for a modern audience, which is going to make old schoolers, raise an eyebrow.
Like a good example is like, we'll try to get this in, I'll say this in 2 minutes. Rudy Van Gelder, right? I think I've said this before. He cut it a certain way on the Scully, and he did it because he was there in the studio. He recorded. Like, you don't have a time where the producer, the engineer, was also the mastering engineer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So he was in charge of the whole process, right? And he wasn't cutting it, because Blue Note or Prestige told him to do it. He was making his own choice on it, But I think it has to do with like how you cut it, to be honest,
Well, so
that's like one of the things. It's not always the thing, I think with a modern cutting style that, Ryan K. Smith, Bellman, Matthew Luthans, Kevin Gray, all these other people, like, it's going to sound different, right? They have their own nuances, right?
And a lot of times they've lost, like with the Beatles. Weren't the Beatles a similar case where the masters aren't EQ'd, and so you're trying to EQ the master like the original, which is going to be a tall task, a tall order to try to match it up exactly, right? Sometimes the masters are EQ'd, at least my understanding. Sometimes they'll be EQ'd, and so you have something that's going to already be more like the original, notwithstanding deterioration and that kind of stuff.
But this is an argument that's existed before all of us were in the hobby and will exist after, because you can't tell me there wasn't somebody in 1986 saying like, this Are You Experienced, reprise or Warner reissue or MC whatever. This doesn't sound like the original. Like I think we've always gone through that. In fact, I remember vividly buying my dad an Elvis CD box set, who's not an audiophile. He's not a critical listener. He just loves music. And he's like, this sounds like shit. What did they do? Well, this doesn't, right? That's my dad who has nice equipment in his house, but he's not like sitting on a sweet spot on a couch, like zoning in on like, if the bass is in the right channel and if it's more pronounced. So, 10 years from now, they're going to reissue, they're gonna reissue Bitches Brew again, some other label, and we're all gonna be like, oh fuck again, like this doesn't sound as good as this. And then there's become this hierarchy of reissues. And like in a way, I refer to us as the 1% because like the vinyl community is not the target market of the record companies, but in a way that's what kind of fuels our journey on this. Like we kind of live for this new exposure to these reissues so we can critique them or think we're getting the next best thing. But this isn't anything new. This has been going on when they reissued records 10 or 15 years later, or UK versus US when they originally came out. It happened when the CD age took a grasp of everybody in the late 80s and 90s into the 2000s. Like I remember the Led Zeppelin reissues coming out and people were like up in arms about it. I worked in a music store when all this was going on or like when the Beatles finally put the UK mixes on CD, people were like going nuts about it. Like it's just something that's always going to be a great debate, but it doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just, they're just different. Right.
Yeah, to your point, like was it your dad that you mentioned that says this sounds like crap? It's like, does that translate to this doesn't sound the way I remember it, or does that translate to this sounds like crap?
So here's this is why Jason shootouts are so important, because most of us are doing this off memory, even if it's 30 seconds after we played the original version, then we put on the reissue. We're still doing that off a reference point. Right. You're only going to really notice the difference when you do it side by side and can go back and forth on an A/B. I'll give you another great example. I shared this with Jason. He did a Beatles shootout a couple of weeks ago. I think, Jason, I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but I think you and I were both over the moon about this comment. Right. I sent it to my mother-in-law and I gave her very specific instructions. I said, go to this YouTube video, put on your headphones. She's a huge Beatles fan. And I said, listen to these two records. She thought the UK sounded like crap because she's like, it doesn't even sound like them. And like the reference point for me was, oh, you didn't grow up with the UK pressing. You only know the US. So for her, it was like, and I was like, what do you mean the US sounds better? No way it sounds better. Like I didn't really get into much of a debate with her, but I was like, I think completely different. And then I realized I grew up on the UK CDs, right? Yeah. She grew up on the US pressing. So it's like, that was such an eye-opener to me, right? It was like, oh crap, it really is all about the reference point to a certain extent and preference, right?
Yep.
I want to chime in before we do Hendrix. Your dad isn't wrong. I have the Elvis box sets on vinyl. Okay. They sound like shit. There you go.
Well, especially if they're stereo.
Well, I mean, that whole thing was like early 90s digital. So
yeah,
I was curious. Like I bought them because they're not on anybody's radar. So I got it for like $30 and then I played it. And the whole thing you got to realize on that box set, they're trying to squeeze like 40 songs on one side. So you're going to get too much compression. So there you go.
Because 99% of people that buy that don't care.
Correct. I mean, it was meant for CD, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? UHQR. Thoughts, Jason?
Used to own it.
Chris, any want to add to that?
I own it.
Are you gonna bump it out of D land or?
No, I'm gonna put it in B land.
Oh,
but I can tell you that I just play that Bernie Grundman, the Bernie Grundman cuts more often than I play this.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I thought he cut it. Didn't he not cut this? He cut this, right?
He did cut this, but it's not the same. No, he did cut this, but the mono of those reissues. Whenever they did the limited edition monos, when they did
Mhm.
that sounds fantastic.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I made a video and I don't think it'll come out. It's actually the mono of this, the US versus the UK. And I don't know if I should put it out because it's embarrassing. So,
I have a
Sounds
second
like
pressing of it now. I want to go listen to it.
you should put it out. But this is the
Okay.
other thing too. Is this an audiophile record?
When I listened to that for the first time, I got to hear more clarity. And I could hear that Jimmy kind of overdubbed his vocal on what? Like Wind Cries Mary. And I don't think that was the intention to get more clarity out of this record, you know. And I'll go back, like, this is not a well recorded record. Like, how they were doing this was very haphazard and
It was
rushed,
rushed. Yeah.
you know. Not to detract from the music, like, the music is great, but the recording, I guess, like, it wasn't, I don't know. Like, I think what Chaz Chandler produced this record, right? He was the bass player for the Animals. So, man, I guess. I mean, I would give it a D as Spinz put it there, but we can leave it at a C.
Well, because Groove Seeker gave it a B, so we got to balance it out.
Sure, yes. Oh, no.
And I did save the best for last. Here we go, Jay, to reprise your role as villain in the vinyl community.
This is really easy. D for Doors.
D for Doors. For those that don't know, this is the recent Rhino reissue. What is it? The first 6 records?
Yes.
And you don't have
I
this,
mean-
right, Chris, do you?
No.
And who's going to buy this now based on Jason's reigning endorsement?
I mean,
That's the thing.
Go ahead.
Because you knocked it, everybody, it sold out.
Oh,
Drove the
my
Discogs
gosh.
price up.
I'm not even going to put it in DJ. I'm going to make it the D right there.
Oh, you don't have to do that. I mean, to me, like, I mean, I had listened to the other records and they weren't bad. LA Woman was very close, you know? Like, it just, like, I could tell people wanted it, but it's also like they also had the ability to get the AP reissues, which, like, those sounded very darker cuts, but people enjoy that warmer sound, you know? So,
What is all this? What is there? Did you put the ZZ Top one on here? Because the ZZ Top one's pretty bad.
No, we're done. That's it.
What about Fish and Joe Cocker?
Well, that's from our last one we did.
We can do
That was
Fish.
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Man.
So that's
I'm glad
it.
you didn't put Psychedelic Horseshit on there. That would gain an S. You know, for super.
Well, let me know when
Ross,
you put out a reissue and we'll throw it on here.
are you doing a UHQR of it or no?
ERC, I thought.
Possibly ERC to get closer to their cutting system. That would possibly happen, maybe, right?
So how would you deal with that, Jay? You get the ERC. Let's say they float you a copy because you're in the band.
Sure.
Now you have to say, was this the intent of the artist?
Yeah, we would go all the way because we paid for it. So then this was the best one ever. I would be on videos like saying, this is the one, you know.
Go buy this. That's true.
Right. Cut on
Jason,
all tube, you know.
I don't know if I foolishly slept
1950s
on
lathe.
Sorry, guys. My bad. I'm on a
Sorry,
delay.
go
I
ahead.
think.
Sorry.
No. All right, we're good. Okay. I slept on that Velvet Underground box.
Mm-hmm.
Do I regret it or no?
I don't think so because they have a live record that doesn't even have Lou Reed on it. That's questionable to put on that box set. I don't know if you knew about that.
No, I did.
And no offense to Doug Yule, like he was just part of the band. Like I don't care if people hate on him. Like that dude was part of the band. He replaced John Cale, you know? Like you know, like, and that's okay, but I think like maybe squeezing too much on a loaded box set for that, you know? They should just do a squeeze box set, that other Velvet Underground record, you know?
Come on. Spinz decoy. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Decoy cards has a
Yeah,
good
it's a good question. He
question.
says, this chart makes it seem like there's an issue in modern reissue mastering. Would you say the point is to replicate originals, master modern equipment, or new interpretation? Of course, this is, a small sample size. This is effectively one person's opinion, but, I think we all kind of jumped in on this. But is that a fair statement, Jay, you think?
For me, yeah, and again, I'm not saying that all reissues are bad. Like I pointed out earlier, that I think for Vinyl Kicks 66, Vinyl Kicks 86, that I actually prefer the 2010s The Band, like reissues like that. Music from the Big Pink and the 1969 self-titled, like that reissue. And it was all like digital too and cut on vinyl. Like I think Robert Ludwig, like he actually cut the original 69 and he felt like this wasn't good enough. I messed up, And when he remastered and mixed it, like he was going for more like, this is the band, like this thing should just beat you. Like it should be the best ever. When Garth Hudson plays that swirling organ on Chest Fever, like it should just wash over you. It should not be panned right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's his song. Like, and if you remember like that band, like the live concert and the last waltz, what does it open up with? It opens up with Garth Hudson playing the Hammond organ and that thing swelling to this huge sort of orchestrated madness, before the band kicks in,
Yeah.
So he was actually, I think, coming back and be like, I did this wrong. Like I need to do better, and get more of the feeling of how great instrumentalists and how all these things were great songs. So, I mean, again, if Spinz had picked that band box set, I would have put that in a S, of course.
All right, you heard it here first. Jill's Music Corner. By the way, Jill providing lots of the content for these shows. I really appreciate you being here, asking some great questions. However, Jill, one demerit, does not really get the Grateful Dead. Checked out the Grateful Dead. I didn't really get it. Where did you start, Jill? Which one did you listen to? Maybe we can.
Wait, it's only been 24 hours.
Well, was that yesterday? Was that you, Jill, that was asking about that yesterday? Was it Dead Set? Did you check out Dead Set? Which one did you check out? Tokyo Record Style, all the way from Tokyo, driving but enjoying. Yeah,
Rojas, were those banned? You're talking about the 50th anniversary reissues?
Yeah.
Were those half speed master?
I don't think so.
They weren't, but they were box sets.
Well, they had a box set and then they released a couple of them like standalone
individually. Yeah.
Yes, because it's on like a double 45.
Yeah.
And you're gonna laugh. Like in the past couple of years, I kept on buying music from the Big Pink and the band, thinking like maybe I just had a bad copy. Maybe I'll compare it again, and it didn't even stack up. And I had to like tell myself, knock it off. Like, just stop. Like, I'm obsessed. Like, trying. I mean, I didn't tell the story. Like, King Tubby's, his famous record. It's Augustus Pablo, like, Meet King Tubby. I think
Meet King Tubby, yeah.
So I kept on buying that record over and over, and I kept on selling it to a friend of mine. And then my friend's like, look, I'm not going to say anything, but this is the 5th time you're selling me this record. What are you doing? And then I had to tell him, like, I'm searching for the best copy, and I just realized it just doesn't exist, so I'll stop. I'll give up on this, because it sounds like the record was poorly recorded, and when it was cut on vinyl, whether it was in the UK, the US, or Jamaica, they just, I don't know, like they couldn't cut it. Like, that's it, Like, I've owned like so many copies of that record, so many copies of Heart of the Congos.
Heart of the Congos is a tough one.
There's no perfect copy. Like, I give up. Like, I give up. You would have laughed, like, to see my friend, like, didn't you just sell me this last month? What are you doing? Is this some sort of sick joke or something? Like, no, dude, I'm actually trying to find the perfect copy, and it doesn't exist with this record. So,
I'm actually going to, stream some Congos tonight, make a high res file for you. I'll put it in your email. See if that fixes your issue.
Don't say that on this channel.
My bad.
guy's pirating music right here. Well, yeah, I don't know if you're ready for a mic drop, but I do. That is a great way maybe to kind of close things out. Jay, is when is good enough enough? Like how far are you willing to go? Are you gonna scale Mount Everest? Are you gonna like to get that perfect sound, that perfect record?
I'm curious, I think I've slowed down on trying to find like the perfect copies because let's face it, I was a bit obsessive, on Heart of the Congos and King Tubby, King Tubby, Augustus Pablo, But I'm still curious, if I can find the record for cheap now and do a comparison, I will, and I don't have to compare every record and put it on YouTube, It's sort of like a private thing, tell friends. Anyways, I bought like 2 hot records. So this past year, I think I'm tapped out for sure. Like, unless I find Bill Fay, Times of the Persecution, OG, Like, this is a dark folk record. So if you never listened to this, if you want to get hard, like in that very depressive state, Bill Fay, Time of the Last Persecution. I mean, you were going to see teeny boppers holding on to this in the early 70s. Like, what you got there? Oh, the next big thing, Bill Fay, Time of the Last Persecution. Like, I don't want that record. That guy looks like Charles Manson. Yeah, you're right. He actually does.
I find that record to be very uplifting.
Of course it is, actually. That's the secret of this record,
Record store day release.
I know people are actually selling this on eBay and they're getting like $80, $100 for it. It's blowing my mind.
When did that one come out?
2021, I think.
Okay. Been a few years.
Yes. You can stream it, I think, right?
Yeah, you can stream it.
I mean, I had a chance. I told Groove Seeker I had a chance of getting it on eBay, and I lost it. It was in VG.
Oh, the OG?
Yeah, it was less than VG. It was probably I would even rate it a G+. It sold for like over $800.
Wow.
And I was about to put the bid on there, and I'm like, what am I doing, dude? Like, it's insanity. Like, forget it. Like, sometimes you can't win all the records. You have to let it go. And then the next week there was another record of the same record, and that one sold for like I think 1.5. And then I was like, you idiot, you had it at 8, but now this one went for 1.5. Like,
well, so how far does your curiosity go, Jay? $800. Curious. Like, what would you? Does your curiosity know no bounds? What is the biggest grail right now on your? Or maybe you don't have to tell us because you might. I don't know.
Say it.
But, okay.
Last year, right? I got the Vashti Bunyan, Another Diamond Day. That's a classic rare folk record. Like very nursery rhymes, lovely like female vocals. And then, I'll be honest, I paid $7 for it. The guy wanted $1,000. He said there was some sort of heat damage. He sent me the video. And then I said, there's no way I'm going to pay $1,000 for that. And then we just worked out on Discogs back and forth, for a month. And then he was not going to go down to 6. He was going to 7, and then I was like, okay.
Going once, going twice.
Because it would never sell at 7. It would be embarrassing if he had put that at 7, because it would have sold immediately on Discogs, and it would have brought the value down,
Okay.
And then the other one that I bought was the Margot Guron Take a Picture, which is a Sunshine Pop record from 1968. I think I played it before on my streams. It's got some very kind of more medium psychedelic tones on it, but that record is super rare again. Like, the guy put it on eBay, sold it for 1.5. That person never paid. So then he did buy it now for 1.5. No takers. Lowered it down to 1.2. No takers. Everyone was like, hell no. And then he lowered it down to 9.
Ooh.
And I was like looking at it like, oh gosh, because that record had been selling consistently at like over $1,000, So it sat there at 9, and then he started like giving a few people like, okay, buy it now, 8 or best offer. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. I was like, no, it can't be happening again. So I put an offer at 7, you know? He took it, and then I spent that whole weekend like, he took it at 7. So now, goodbye, audiophile records. Let's get you together. Any duplicates, let's get you together. And
Oh, that's when the whole MoFi collection went out the door.
correct. Well, most of them, you know, I think I still have like a few MoFis left, but I think most of them are gone, you know? But yeah, like most of my AP records, MoFi, audiophile, duplicates, like when I went to the local record store to sell them, they were like, oh no. And they were like, look at one of the guys like, not you, you're coming during the bad time. We need to sell more records. We don't need to buy more records. And then I didn't know that the owner was there too. So he was like, oh, you're here. Well, then he saw like 4 or 5 boxes. He's like, oh man, this looks serious. I'm like, oh, it is. And then I think he was trying to think like, wait, what are you trying to, but then he got busy. Like he's going to ask me, wait, what have you got? Like you're selling a lot of good stuff. Wait, what, you know?
Yeah.
But he got busy and I never told him, Marco Gueron, take a picture, 1968. And like, if he knows records, then he would have been like, wait, isn't that like 1.5, 1.2K record, you know? So to make the long story short, yeah, everything I want now is over $500, you know? And now I'm kind of like, great, I've joined that club, you know, like this is where it led. Okay, like fine. But I mean, do I want to do that every month? No, I don't, you know?
Well, save your milk money for November when we're at WFMU so we can capture some of this great stuff on camera.
Well, I'm just more calm now and chill. As I said earlier, like I look for deals, you know, and I think that's more important. Like hanging out is more important, you know, and making deals rather than just blowing all my money on one record. Like, what's that saying, Kenny Rogers? Like, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know
when to fold them.
Correct. You know, you got to listen to Kenny Rogers, man.
There it is. Words of wisdom as we head out the door. Although Vinyl Piper interested in an OG Fraction Moon Blood, Jason. And of course, if you guys make a deal right here on the Spinz Vinyl channel, I only take 20%.
Vinyl Piper, you know that I don't care for Fraction Moon, Doors Light. You might as well buy Doors records for, you know, what, 5 times less the cost of that? Come on, you know? It's just, oh man. So the answer is no.
All right, I love it. Mark Boyd with the mic drop. I'm more into paying rent.
That's right. You know, when we go to Human Head and you spend a lot of money, he gives you a bag. And on the Human Head bag, it goes, records before rent.
Oh, God. That's when you know you have a problem. Vinyl Collectors Anonymous coming soon. Maybe I'll start
Correct.
that up.
I mean, honestly, correct.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you. That was fantastic, Jason. Thank you for being here. My guest, of course, this week. Appreciate you. And Groove Seeker as well. Thanks, you guys.
Want to thank Spinz and Groove Seeker for not answering, you know, for not asking the hard questions, you know, like, do you really love fish? Like, you know.
I did put the link in chat for Jason Rojas' channel. It's at Jason. What is it? At Jason_Rojas, I think.
Nope. At Jason Rojas, you know.
There you go. At Jason Rojas on YouTube. Check out his shootouts. Like Groove Seeker mentioned, has some fantastic shootouts. Also check him out every Sunday morning where he spins a little vinyl for you guys. And that's always fun. And also catch him every Thursday on which Thursday's coming up. Couple days we'll be doing the B-side of Surface Noise. Jason, I'm sure will be there. He's normally there. So yeah, you can catch Jason all kinds of ways. So and he has an open invitation to his home anytime you want to check out any of these originals.
Correct. Just don't there's a metal detector on the way in, way out. Just kidding.
He weighs you. There's a scale. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be here. I'll be back with Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame. We'll be doing another episode of Turntable Tales. We'll catch you on Thursday for Surface Noise. Everyone have a great night. Thanks everyone for being here. Okay, let's spotlight. There we go. Beatles.
Go hard.
Please me
or
in
go
mono.
home.
In mono, baby.
Parlophone Black Gold.